Well, good morning everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you along to the wedding this morning of Brayden and Kandice. What a happy occasion. No doubt there's been a lot of weeks and months in the preparation of this day, but finally we're here in front of family and friends and we're going to observe and celebrate a special day. You feeling okay? I'll make this painless as possible. So how are you feeling? Maybe excited, maybe a little bit nervous? Okay, probably a bit tired because of all the preparation. Well, I want to try and get you to relax for a bit. I know that's easier said than done. But what we're going to do for a few moments is discuss the beautiful provision of marriage. Then we're going to discover this simple secret of having a long and successful and happy marriage. Then we're going to have a look at the roles of husband, first of all, you, Brayden, and then the wife, for you, Kandice. And then I'm sure we'd love to hear you say your vows. We're looking forward to that. And then afterward, we need to sign up a few documents to make it all legal. So if all goes to plan, in about 25 minutes' time, you two are going to be hitched. Won't that be good? Okay. Well, marriage is a beautiful gift from God, and one that can give a man and a woman a great deal of happiness, joy, and contentment. Today, though, marriage is becoming less and less popular because many people look at it as a two-way relationship. Marriage is definitely a relationship, but it's a three-way relationship. You see, there's more to marriage than just two people we see in front of us here today. We know that because in the Bible it talks about the very first marriage. I'd just like to read it to you. Just relax and I'll read this for you. It's from Genesis chapter 1 and verse 28. It talks about the very first marriage. And it says there further, God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful, become many, fill the earth and subdue it, and have in subjection the fish of the sea, flying creatures of the heavens, and every living creature that is moving on the earth. Notice there wasn't just the couple involved in that marriage, Adam and Eve, but God was also actively involved. So it's God that's the third party in a marriage arrangement. You see, God is the author and originator of marriage. He's our creator and He knows what makes us happy. Therefore, in order to have a successful marriage, we need to live by His standards. Does that make sense? Okay. Otherwise, it would just degenerate into a situation where each person would do and say and think their own thing, and that's what leads to serious problems and why a lot of marriages fail today. Having that third party in a marriage is vital. I'll just read you the inspired word here at Ecclesiastes as well. Chapter 4 and verse 12. So you can see the point. It says, someone may overpower one alone, but two together can take a stand against him. That's you two. But notice this, but a threefold cord cannot quickly be torn apart. So that third cord in the fold with you two is our loving Creator, Jehovah God. Well, how does that work in a practical way? I mean, it's easy to say that, you've heard that before, oh yeah, the old threefold cord trick. But how does it work in a practical way? Well, Brayden, if your greatest love is to Kandice, and Kandice, if your greatest love is to Brayden, well, that's very nice, but it's not a shared love. It's not something you can enthuse about together. But if your greatest love, Brayden, is for your Creator, and that's true of you too, then that means that it is a shared love. It's something that you share together, and you can rejoice in that mutual shared love, and you can use that as a foundation or a platform upon which you can build your own enduring love for each other. Does that make any sense? You sure? You're not just saying it. Maybe we can illustrate it this way. It's like a triangle. Okay, Kenny, you're on this side of the triangle at the base. Brayden, you're on this side of the triangle. And up here at the top of the triangle, there's Jehovah God. Okay. So as you read the Bible and you study together and you pray together, you see what's happening. You're drawing closer to Jehovah because He's up the top there. But see what else is happening. You're drawing closer to each other. And that right there is the secret of building a long and happy and a successful marriage, having Jehovah God in our marriage and in our lives. You see, as our Creator, He knows what's best for us, and He's given clear guidelines for both husbands and wives in the Bible. Well, what are those roles? We're going to look briefly, first of all, at you, Brayden. So you can start to squirm now, because this is a tough role, man. I want to tell you. It's not an easy gig. If we turn our attention to the inspired words of the Apostle Paul, recorded in Ephesians, he makes some comments about the responsibility of a Christian husband. You ready for this? It's in Ephesians chapter 5. Let's have a look at it. And if you're following along, anyone in the audience there, you might leave your Bibles open at Ephesians there for a bit. Look at a few verses there. Ephesians 5 verse 23. I've got one of these hard copy Bibles, so just bear with me. It says, a husband is head of his wife, just as the Christ is head of the congregation. You see, in this and other texts, the Bible is very clear. It makes the point that in God's creation, there's this order of headship. Jehovah God is head of the Christ. The Christ is head over men and of the Christian congregation, and men are to exercise headship over their wives. But that doesn't mean, Brayden, that you can be a dictator. You know what I'm saying? Because you can't rule harshly like a dictator in your marriage. You see, this arrangement of God was to be for the benefit of the woman. Because notice what the scripture goes on to say in verse 25 of Ephesians chapter 5. It says, husbands, continue loving your wives, just as the Christ also loved the congregation. He gave himself up for it. 28. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. A man who loves his wife loves himself. No man ever hated his own body, but he feeds and cherishes it, just as the Christ does the congregation. You see, wives are to be treated kindly, tenderly. They're to be loved and cherished and appreciated, just like a princess. So that's your job, Brayden, to look after Candice emotionally, physically, materially, but most importantly, spiritually. Now you're needing to set the right example so that she can confidently follow your lead. And decisions that you make, you'll need to take her feelings into account, like her thoughts and her wishes and her desires before you make any decisions. But in the end, Jehovah God holds you responsible for the decisions that you make as a head of your family. You sure you want to do this? Okay, now that might all sound overwhelming, Brayden. And admittedly, it's not easy, especially with the pressures of these last days. But here's the thing, Brayden. It can be done. You can do it, man. You can do it. And in fact, it is being done by Christian husbands right around the world. So, Candice, you might say, that sounds pretty good. And it is too. But just as Brayden has his God-given responsibilities and roles in marriage, so you. What's your role? Back to Ephesians 5. This time we're looking at verse 24. It says, in fact, as the congregation is in subjection to the Christ, wives should also be to their husbands in everything. And 33, nevertheless, each one of you must love his wife as he does himself. But on the other hand, the wife should have deep respect for her husband. So a couple of important words come out in those scriptures for wives. One is subjection and one is respect. So, in other words, Ken, it's your role to be respectfully subjection to this guy over here. Okay, that's your part. Now that wasn't meant to be a burden for you. Why? Because, well, what do you think God had in mind for this arrangement? We'll just go back for a sec to Genesis, chapter 1. Sorry, this time I'm going to read chapter 2 and verse 18. It says, then Jehovah God said, it's not good for the man to continue to be alone. I'm going to make a helper for him as a complement of him. You see, Candice, Jehovah's made you with certain qualities that can bring you a great deal of joy and satisfaction in the marriage arrangement, providing you work in harmony with the way that God has made you. You see, did you notice why the woman was created? Firstly, as a helper. So you're going to help Brayden in working together for the common good, for the building up of your family, but you're also going to be a complement. That doesn't mean you're looking good today, Brayden. Not that sort of compliment. That's a compliment where it makes something whole or complete, you see. You see, there'll be a lot of things in life that you'll be able to accomplish together that neither of you could accomplish as individuals. One obvious example, of course, is the privilege of procreation, the bringing forth of new life. So your role in the marriage, Kenneth, it's a dignified one. It's one that's going to bring you a great deal of joy and satisfaction and fulfillment. So Brayden, by you being a loving and kind head, willing to sacrifice your life for this woman here, and by you, Kandice, being in respectful subjection to Brayden's headship, that's going to give you the best chance of having a long and happy and a successful marriage. Does any of that make sense? Okay. Now, it's not always going to be easy. It's not a walk in the park. As one brother says, it's a tough gig. And you probably won't think so right now, but sometimes they're going to have differences of opinion. In fact, sometimes you might even get cranky at each other. And you know what? That's okay. Providing we do what we're told to do at Ephesians 4:26. And I'll read that to you. Ephesians 4:26. It says, "Be wrathful, but do not sin. Do not let the sun set while you are still angry." So notice there, that's a scriptural gem. It's okay to be cranky, but don't let the sun set while you're still cranky. Settle the matter the same day, so at the end of each day, you're just as happy as you are right now. Talk things over, communicate freely. During your courtship, you've been in the habit of doing common and nice things for each other. Well, keep doing it. Do it all the more. And if all else fails, Brayden, here's a tip from an old good flowers man. Flowers, chocolates. Works a treat. All right. So Brayden and Kandice, there's many things that could be said, but can we leave you with just this one last amazing thought? You know, we're living at a very special time in human history. It's a time where Bible chronology and Bible prophecy show no doubt that we're living in what the Bible calls the last days. Soon God's kingdom will bring the promised new world. So if you strive to put God first, not only in your marriage but in your lives, you have this amazing prospect of living forever as a happily married couple. Not just for a few years, but forever. To enjoy all of the wonderful promises made by the originator of marriage, Jehovah God. Okay, now, here comes the good bit. Now comes the time when both of you need to answer a really important question. You okay? Good. Firstly to you, Brayden. Do you, Brayden Della, in the presence of Jehovah God and these witnesses, take Kandice Barnes to be your wedded wife, to love and to cherish in accordance with the divine law as outlined in the Holy Scriptures for Christian husbands? You both made it? I do. Beautiful. Take your time. No worry. So again. Okay. Do you, Kandice Barnes, in the presence of Jehovah God and these witnesses, take Brayden Della to be your wedded husband, to love and to cherish and deeply respect in accordance with the divine law as outlined in the Holy Scriptures to Christian wives, as long as you both may live? I do. Beautiful. Thank you. So, who gives this woman to this man anyway?
I do.
Oh, no, you can rehearse that. Good on you, Dad. Okay. Well, now comes the time when you're going to say some really nice vows to each other. Yeah, him first. Okay. Ready for this? We'll take it real slow. So, I, Brayden Della,
I, Brayden Della,
take you, Candice Barnes,
take you, Candice Barnes,
to be my wedded wife,
to be my wedded wife,
to love and to cherish,
to love and to cherish,
in accordance with the divine law,
in accordance with the divine law,
as set forth in the Holy Scriptures,
as set forth in the Holy Scriptures,
for Christian husbands.
Christian husbands,
For as long as we both shall live
for as long as we both shall live
together on earth,
together on earth,
according to God's marital arrangement.
according to God's marital arrangement.
Very nice, thank you. So, Candy, you up for this? Okay. Take it slow. I, Candice Barnes,
I, Candice Barnes,
take you, Brayden Della,
take you, Brayden Della,
to be my wedded husband,
to be my wedded husband,
to love and to cherish,
to love and to cherish,
and deeply respect,
and deeply respect,
in accordance with the divine law,
in accordance with the divine law,
as set forth in the Holy Scriptures,
as set forth in the Holy Scriptures,
for Christian wives.
for Christian wives,
For as long as we both shall live
as long as we both shall live
together on earth,
together on earth,
according to God's marital arrangement.
according to God's marital arrangement.
You did it, Candy. Well done. So who has the rings? Anyone got some rings here too? You. Good on you. Thank you. So we're going to exchange some rings now, and these rings are an outward symbol signifying to all the uniting of this man and this woman in the bonds of matrimony. So there you go. Beautiful. Well, for as much as Brayden and Candice have covenanted before Jehovah God and these witnesses to accept each other in wedlock, I, as an ordained minister and by the authority conferred upon me both by the Holy Scriptures and by the law of the Commonwealth of Australia, pronounce that they are husband and wife together. And in the words of our Lord Jesus, what God has yoked together, let no man put apart. So, what you waiting? You want to give your wife a kiss? Okay, well, we're going to do some business over here, so follow me.
Friends, while the signing is taking place, for those attending the reception, it's just a reminder that the reception will be at 2:30 p.m. The bride and groom have also requested that no rice or confetti be thrown at the conclusion of the ceremony. Thank you for all that have come today to witness this beautiful ceremony. The bride and groom's families really appreciate this very much.
Well, brothers and sisters and friends, it's a privilege for me to be able to introduce to you for the very first time, what's their names? Mr. and Mrs. Della.
I met you in the dark, you lit me up. You made me feel as though I wasn't off. We danced the night away, we drank too much. I held your hair back when you were throwing up. Then you smiled over your shoulder. For a minute I was stone cold sober. I pulled you closer to my chest, and you asked me to stay.
Your fingers when I'm walking, like a dog hanging on your lead. I'm in a spin, you know, shaking on a string, you know. You make me feel like dancing. I'm gonna dance the night away. You make me feel like dancing. I'm gonna dance the night away. You make me feel like dancing. I feel like
Thank everybody for coming and celebrating this day with us. We couldn't have done it without the help of our grandparents, my auntie, both of our families and parents, and also a big thanks to Beth and Rob for organising all of this reception for us. We are so grateful to all of our friends for their support in our relationship, and please feel free to take some food home with you. We've prepared boxes for you as well. And we also thank Jehovah for this wonderful blessing of marriage as we are now husband and wife. Thank you.
It was 7 years and 1 month ago since I last had to do this for Simone's wedding. So it's been a while, and it was always never sure whether it would happen with Brayden, but we're very happy to see that it has, and certainly all sorts of emotions are going through my mind today. Joy, apprehension as they embark on their journey together, but I'm sure it will be great. Just a couple of things in regard to Brayden. Back in 1992 when he was born, he fulfilled Lorraine and my wish to have a girl and a boy, and that's where we were going to stop them. We were one of those fortunate couples. Many miss out on having it work out that way, but we were one of those fortunate ones where it actually happened that way. So he's come a long way since Thomas the Tank Engine. That was his favourite show, that was his favourite book, and I should also say that it's fair to say that both Brayden and I, we've had our ups and downs in previous years, but I feel so joyful at the way he's turned his life around, the changes he's made in so many areas of his life. It's certainly been a joy for Lorraine and I to see that happen, and Candice, you played a big role in helping that to happen through the positive spirit that you've passed on to him as well. I should also thank you also. Lorraine and I are about to experience for the first time empty nest syndrome. Our last one is gone, empty nest syndrome has come. Now while I was writing the speech, I had Google do some work for me in the background, finding out what empty nest syndrome was. And I found out that some couples, it can take 18 months to 2 years to get over the depression and anxiety of having your last child leave home. Now, it doesn't gel with me at all. I'm euphoric already. I do not see how this is going to happen. So thank you all once again. Lorraine and I would like to thank you for having made this day the way it has been today and for coming together like this. As Brayden said, we thank Reed's Place for the wonderful job that they've done here. Simone, Ryan, Bo and Jack for the great job they've done in playing the part of the wedding party. And bridesmaids and the bride, don't they look beautiful? They've really come up nicely today. I should also thank Bo for a great boys' night the other night. We went out for a boys' night, had an awesome night. My first time at Eat Street, so it was an experience for me. And I don't think any of us have played pool for a while. That was quite evident, so, so that was good too. So finally, Lorraine and I would just like to congratulate Brayden and Candice on their union today. Remember, as always, stay focused on the future and focused on the important thing while we're still in this old system, and that is to make known Jehovah's name. And now you've got the blessing together of doing that as a union, and I'm sure you'll find great benefit in it. Thank you very much.
Yes, syndrome, I'm sure she won't be too far from home whenever she wants to come around. She's more than welcome with Brayden. I'd like to welcome Brayden into the family. First of all, that we hopefully get to know each other a bit better. You're saying about the games are cool. We've got the table at home. Welcome anytime. Plenty of practice.
We need the practice.
So no problem at all. Plenty of room at our place here. As for Candice growing up, like I said, she's our last of four. Had a bit of a gap after the three boys, and got the little surprise for Mum that wanted a little girl, so she got a little bundle of joy. Call our beautiful little baby. I always call her my little girl. Always will be, the baby girl. But now she's grown into a beautiful woman. Happy to see that she's making something for herself and doing something for herself. She's always been a talented young lady coming through. She's great with her arts and paintings. Like most artists, they have their own little set ways. Some of her little favourite little sayings was when she wouldn't go to sleep, when she would go to sleep before she'd go to school the next day, she wouldn't be in bed before midnight, because his favourite little saying was, "Eyes, don't you know that eyes are nocturnal?" So she liked to play up with the possums at night. So that's one, and then the other one was, her favourite little saying was when she got cranky with somebody and upset. And the favourite little wordings were?
Sog log.